Okay. Alright, we can push this back and we can do our review. We're gonna do a full review of the game in a minute here. Let me just... The GBC version sucks too. I'm gonna play... You know what? I'm gonna play Black Mages. You know why? Because the arranged versions of FF Music that I have is like varying degrees of volume. Kinda don't want anything like action-y though. You know what? Let's do some more chill. Alright, so first we have this development article, this development wiki on this game. There we go. Alright, so here's the wiki page in question. Planning on Dragon Quest II began in April 1986, a month before the release of the original Dragon Quest. Wait, what? Oh, okay. With the system and memory map decided and started development in early July. At the beginning of development, producer Yukinobu Chida asked director and programmer Koichi Nakamura for a definite release date, and he offhandedly set one. Then the development team was divided into two groups. With one designing the story as well as the monsters and one doing the programming. The initial deadline was set for early November, but the game ultimately suffered a small delay. The development team had finished programming almost everything by the time of the initial release and believed the game could be released by the end of that year. In the Japanese magazine Weekly Shonen Jump, published November 11, 1986, it was announced that the game would be released in late December. However, the developers found that the game was too difficult, so it was delayed for a month and to adjust the balance. They had to finish the final version in mid-December, which they did, and then rushed to deliver to Nintendo to make the physical game cartridges. The game was released on January 26, 1987. The developers believed that Dragon Quest's 1 vs. 1 combat system was tedious and too simple, and that the leveling system was boring, so they decided to have Dragon Quest II use a party system with players controlling multiple characters. In another game from the time entitled Wizardry, players can control a party up to 6 characters. Nakamura saw this, liked the idea, and wanted to do something similar. Due to technical restrictions, they decided to use only 3 characters. The Famicom video game system supports a display of up to 8 sprites side by side, and one game character used 2 units in a direction. So it was possible for up to 3 characters to talk in a non-playable character. Yuji Horii believed many players would play Dragon Quest II without first playing Dragon Quest I, and thus had players search for the other party members. During development, the staff discussed the idea of deprecating the stare command of the predecessor several times. Nakamura had stated that the Cave of Roan found in the game is inspired by a classic trick to exit mazes, that of always moving forward while sticking to the right-hand side of the wall to avoid traps. Ah! Funny, because that's what you had to do. In the story, group monsters were the first thing designed. The monsters' names, skills, and personalities were decided first, after which they were drawn by artist Akira Toriyama. Yuji Horii allowed Toriyama to paint full drawings rather than directly create the pixel art that would be shown in-game. The artwork was then converted into computer graphics as Toriyama was unfamiliar with computer graphics technology. Other staff took charge of this. Many new monsters needed to be designed to make the game feel real, and the process was laborious for Toriyama. But he also said that compared to the manga comics he was used to, he enjoyed painting more. So, on balance, the experience was positive. Horii stated that for this process, like other manga and film creators, he quickly outlined the story plot in his mind with regards to the map design, blank map used to create physical shape and place, blah blah blah, castle scenario. Blah, 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 blah. Compared with its predecessor, the game was more advanced in nearly all technological aspects. Koichi Nakamura programmed with several students, but since it was the first time working with a team, he didn't know how to delegate work or communicate his goals. Since the students weren't familiar with the coding process, they did not know how to debug or keep track of whose code it came from, so Nakamura had to do it himself, which caused delays. In programming, they first did the maps. They then worked on characters, including numbered characters and maps for assigned lines, and designed the NPC's moving route. The next step was programming the items, which the final step was setting the monster's data and converting Toriyama's artwork. This work was completed by the end of October. Due to the aforementioned balance, the game was initially very difficult, especially in the later stages. Nakamura had written a program that simulated every single combat that he used to adjust the game's setting for character leveling and the strength of enemies players would encounter. This program failed to account for larger monster groups, however, which fell outside the model and caused the game to be very difficult. Furthermore, enemies leveling and weapons power were designed by area, but Koichi Nakamura didn't think over the boat. So players get the boat to some land, might be defeated quickly. Yeah, that's fine. The developers realized that there was a balance problem and did some modifications, such as limiting the number of enemies in Mendenhall to groups of 3 and moving the Canuck Castle closer to Mendenhall Castle. Due to the lack of cartridge space, many ideas were abandoned during development, such as alternate ending. But the Lord Asia Prince is assassinated by the Prince of Connacht's sister if he dies in the final battle. Some elements were used later to remake the sequel as a subplot about the Prince of Connacht being... I don't get it. What am I supposed to be... I don't get it. What's here that's supposed to like be like, aha, yeah, I see. I don't get it. There's nothing there in the development. Like there was definitely this whole, they just designed a piece of software to try and determine monster balance, but it was only 1v1, like, or 1v3, I guess. And they just were like, hey, look, it's fine. And then they just like rolled with it, you know? I don't get it. It doesn't seem like there was anything in that whole thing that really stood out as, holy shit, they're idiotic, you know? I guess like trying to design a application to determine monster balance instead of just testing your game. I guess that part kind of hit me pretty hard, but yeah. Pistol, thank you for the 29 months, dude. Thank you very much. What's the US release date of this game, by the way? All right, here we go, guys. We're gonna do a full review based on a score of 1 to 10. This is the same document as the Variety Night list, but it's down here on the bottom. You can click these tabs. See my mouse? It's cut off, but yeah, it's there. Lack of communication in the debug, and yeah, the software to test the battles. Yeah, I mean, there was a couple things in there that kind of said they were kind of there, but yeah. January 26, 1987. Okay. But anyway, we're gonna do a full review on this. This is the same system that we use for viewer choice games. That means 5 is average. Your average game of the era. Okay, so in the 80s, an average game is 5. Okay, average game is 5. Average visuals, average gameplay, average. 5. Okay, not 7. This isn't IGN, where if you give me a handy in the back room, I give you a free 8, okay? Now, what kind of scores do we rate? Visuals. Now, visuals are not just, wow, the main character looks really good. I like this style. 10 out of 10. It's more like what, you know, animations, spell effects, menus, everything. Anything having to do with visuals is in here. Same with audio, sound effects, menu sounds, spell effects, all that stuff. Gameplay. Difficulty curves is in gameplay, by the way. Suddenly, so many things make sense. I know, right? Story, obviously, same deal. Craftsmanship is like, is the game buggy? Does it work well? Is it pieced cohesively together? This is actually the first time we're gonna see some hits on this one, by the way. So yeah. All right, let's do this. Now visuals. Okay, so it looks exactly like Dragon Warrior 1. However, there's a lot of new enemies and a few different tile sets. Or not tile sets, but tiles. Well, tile sets, yeah, there's actually a dungeon and everything like that. I didn't review the previous games. I literally just started doing this. Like I said, this is the first game that we're starting to review everything, okay? So pay attention and then question it. But yeah, this is the visuals were not actually all that bad, even though it just basically directly copied Dragon Warrior 1. It added a lot, and it actually had dungeons. So like, it wasn't even all that bad, and this song is awkward. It's hard for me to concentrate. Let's just do this. It's hard for me to concentrate with that song. But yeah, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that great either. There was some pretty good monster sprites as well. But overall, the game visually wasn't really anything to write home about, but it was definitely above average. So I'm gonna give it a 6. Audio, oh man. I mean, like, the tracks are okay, but I don't know. It just felt like there was nothing, like, really. You could just here. We're gonna play some stuff. All right. We'll even play Final Fantasy 2. Okay, Final Fantasy 2 NES battle theme. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, this is about as basic as Dragon Warrior, almost. Let's do a boss theme. It's still much more of a jam, though, that's for sure.
Water and water and water, water, water and water and water, water, water and water and water, water, water and water.
Amazing.
Water, water and water and water, water, water and water and water.
Thank you, Blade Isaac, for the 800 bits. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. Oh, that's FF3. No. We don't get to cheat with FF3. FF3 is definitely cheating. Why is it bugging out? Oh, this was a good one. So I want to point out like some of the things that this track does better than like any track in Dragon Warrior 2, okay? Like every note that's played in Dragon Warrior 2 is like just there's no what's it called when you carry a note? I think it's just called carry, like instead of da da, it's you know, like it does that note carry. It does some cool background melodies and stuff and pacing and just there's so much more going on. Like na, 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 instead of ba ba ba, it just like there's flavor to it. Yeah, but it's the second Final Fantasy, okay? We're trying to be fair here. But anyway, the point is that there's not a whole lot of flavor in the Dragon Warrior OST. There's like your battle theme, your world map theme, and then your boss theme. And like I think that was it. Right? Oh, the boat theme as well. I mean, there was only like the 4 or 5 or 6 tracks, you know? And none of the tracks really were all that super great. They weren't bad by any means. They were pretty decent, especially considering NES era, but there wasn't like this real anything that stood out. Yeah, right. There's a lot of technique going on in Final Fantasy songs, and this is just, it's just there. It's just music, you know. It's you got it. That's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not a bad OST. All right, now that we've rated gameplay, let's move on to story. You know, I was actually surprised with the story that there actually felt like there was like something going on with the world. The characters have coming together. You have to go find them. They're doing their own thing. You know, the NPCs actually talk about the world a little bit. It's pretty cool, actually. I enjoyed it. I felt like this was a huge markup from Dragon Warrior 1 in terms of storytelling. So, yeah, I thought this was okay. Nightmare's over, yeah. Craftsman's hip. That's what it looked like. It looked like Craftsman's hip. Craftsmanship. Now this is actually another big hit on it because the game actually doesn't give you very good story direction and has some plot triggers like completely hidden behind literal blind passages. Blind searching, like blindness, blinding with the blinding blind. It like, it's not buggy from what I can tell. It doesn't like break when you turn it on, but that craftsmanship, that's like how well the game directs you. Like that's how well the game is built, you know, that's part of it. And like, we struggled, you know? Like, I know in the old NES days, this was kind of normal. Like, if you play FF1 blind for the first time, you're probably going to have a lot of this kind of like, where the heck do I go stuff as well. But there's never a point where you just blindly have to search a tile to get a key item, you know, or go the wrong way in a dungeon that also has a destination on the other end of it, you know, or have that Roan cave where it has three Lost Wood segments where you get the same passages and if you have to pick the right one or else it sends you back to the beginning. Pitfalls, monsters that completely wipe you out with a single attack, and long. It just like, it's the entire game is like that. Not even just the beginning or the end rather. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I have to give this a 3 because at some points it's actually good. The game isn't broken. You know, I can't say that I didn't enjoy this game at some point. I really had fun with it for the first half of the game, you know? I actually enjoyed the Wild Goose Hunt. It was kind of fun to just like really sort of kind of pull the lore out of like thin air, I guess you could say. You know, like I had to make a lot of wild assumptions and stretches in order to find where I needed to go. And it forced me to kind of explore the world, which is kind of something that's a little lost in some modern RPGs. While it's not a good design, there are ways of doing it well in modern game design that kind of give encouragement to explore worlds. and really kind of go around and to seek out different things. And you find this, like, how many times did I go down in that water island and see that altar there and be like, man, what is up with this? This is cool. What is this thing? And I guess I can't figure out what's here. But then when I got the crest, it's like, oh, let's try that. And then, you know, lo and behold, something happened. And so even though that end of the game was awful, I still had fun with it. But unfortunately, that end of the game was a pretty big determining factor. It was pretty heavy. So I'm gonna say 3. How much time did we take on it? I'm not sure what the completion time is, but I have some additional contents or comments I can make over here, and I'm just gonna be like, seriously, don't play this game even as a joke or meme, LOL. Honestly, I usually go a little bit deeper into the game, but there really isn't a whole lot to say about this game. I think more or less, it's just not a very good game. I think it's just like, it's, if you use a guide to tell you where to go, it's probably a little bit more enjoyable or manageable, but you'll probably end up having to grind a lot more too. But otherwise, like, there's not really a whole lot to say about it. It was a video game on the NES, so it's very basic. Visuals are fine, audio's fine, gameplay is fine until Roan. And then it's a serious, like, it's a crime. It's a crime because you know you're at the end of the game, and then the game pulls that shit at you. Like, it just makes you feel so deflated. It is one of the worst experiences in games I've ever had in my entire life. To get to the end of the game, to feel the end in sight, to be excited about the final boss, and just have every single encounter be a coin flip on survival, and just like the unbelievable nonsense that I had to put up with. I just, like I said, it was one of the worst experiences I've ever had in 35 plus years of gaming at a very regular rate since I've, you know, yeah, it's like my passion, right? However, I will say that I'm very excited for Dragon Quest III. Everybody says that it really turns up the cool at Dragon Quest III. Dragon Quest I was just that really dated design of grind a whole lot, which I was fine with. Dragon Quest II was just such a slap in the face. You know? You know what it's like? It's like hold on. Let me try to word this correctly. It's like coming home to find your significant other in bed with the neighbor, the guy from the grocery store, the entire football team, and the dog, and your mom all at once. And you're just so like confused. You don't have like words to say, and you're just kind of like, I don't know what brought this on or the words that I need to say to explain why this is so bad. I just know I really hate it, and I'm very upset. And you just like, it's like a gut punch at the same time. Yeah, you're also getting punched in the gut and kicked in the shins, and it's just, I don't get it. You know, you're left confused, bewildered, shocked, like a little curious, and also just very, very upset. Thank you, Marissa, for the God tier. So many God tier subs today. Thank you, Marissa, for the God tier sub 45 months in a row. That is some hella support. Thank you, Marissa. Yeah, it just, I don't, like, I hope that explains it. I hope that explains it. All right, so this is actually going to be a Persona 4 review because we beat Dragon Quest 2 first, so we will actually review Persona 4. Probably tomorrow, I imagine, we'll beat Persona 4. The next game here is going to be Star Ocean SNES. Let's actually signify NES here. Wells banned Dragon Warrior 2. And that is a SNES JRPG. And that's going to be our day one game. So next week we'll start Star Ocean 1. I feel like there's something we can do for half an hour. Maybe I can pop in Star Ocean and just kind of give it a whirl. I would like to give Finn a host when we start up on D&D. I don't want to, well, I mean, I got a lot to do, honestly. I could really use the extra time, to be honest. I could really use the extra time. My hypothetical didn't help at all, but your explanation was great.